Beneath Antarctica's seemingly endless sheets of ice, a chilling secret lies hidden. A secret so immense that if it were unleashed, it would reshape the very face of our planet. So what would happen if all of Antarctica's ice melted? Would we finally discover hidden prehistoric creatures? Or would we just end up treading water quite literally? Buckle up, because this is about to be a wild ride. The Doomsday Glacier, a frozen time bomb. Antarctica isn't just a bunch of penguins and snowstorms, it's home to the infamous Thwaites Glacier, also known as the Doomsday Glacier. Now, that's a name that doesn't inspire much confidence, does it? This massive chunk of ice, about the size of Florida, is already causing trouble. It's melting at an alarming rate, dumping a staggering 50 billion tons of ice into the ocean every year. That alone has contributed to 4% of the 9-inch sea level rise we've seen so far. Some scientists believe that rather than taking centuries to fully melt, Thwaites might collapse in just decades, a blink of an eye in geological terms. But why stop at decades? Let's crank things up a notch and imagine this icy behemoth melting in seconds. The first wave, cities go under. Picture this. Within moments, Thwaites vanishes into the ocean. Sea levels surge by 60 centimeters, 2 feet, and before anyone can grab their inflatable pool float, San Francisco, Miami, and New Orleans are underwater. You thought real estate prices in these cities were bad before. Try selling a luxury beachfront condo that's now, well, a literal beach. But why is this happening? Beneath the glacier, a hidden river of fast-flowing melted ice is secretly eroding its foundations. This is fueled by geothermal heat from Earth's molten interior, setting off a chain reaction of ice collapse. And once one chunk goes, the rest follows like a frozen domino effect. But here's the thing. Thwaites is just the appetizer. The real catastrophe starts when the rest of Antarctica follows suit. The Antarctic apocalypse. 70 meters of water incoming. Antarctica is 40% larger than Europe, and 98% of it is covered in ice, a mind-blowing 25 million cubic km of it. And here's a terrifying thought. If all of it melted, sea levels would rise by a staggering 70 meters, 230 feet. Say goodbye to New York, London, Paris, and practically every coastal city on Earth. Entire countries, Bangladesh, the Netherlands, and island nations like the Maldives would be wiped off the map. And as if that weren't enough, this newfound ocean water wouldn't be evenly distributed. In some places, sea levels would actually drop. Wait, what? How does that even work? It turns out that Antarctica's ice is so heavy it literally pulls ocean water towards it with its gravity. When the ice disappears, so does that gravitational pull, causing local sea levels near Antarctica to fall. But don't start celebrating yet everywhere else. The water is rising like a villain in a disaster movie. The return of ancient nightmares. As if drowning cities weren't enough, melting Antarctica might also unleash ancient microbes and viruses, some of which have been frozen for millions of years. Remember that time you forgot about leftovers in your fridge, only to find a thriving bacterial colony? Now imagine that, but on a planetary scale. Scientists warn that modern immune systems have never encountered these prehistoric pathogens. Some could be harmless, sure, but others, potentially deadly. If these bacteria share their antibiotic-resistant genes with today's microbes, we could be looking at superbugs resistant to all modern medicine. It's like opening a cursed treasure chest, except instead of gold, you get a global pandemic. Climate chaos. The Earth gets even weirder. Melting all of Antarctica wouldn't just flood cities, it would completely mess up the planet's climate. Right now, the ocean acts like a giant conveyor belt, circulating warm and cold water to regulate global temperatures. But fresh water from the melting ice would throw a giant wrench in that system. Some scientists believe this could even trigger an ice age in parts of the world, particularly in Europe, by disrupting the Gulf Stream. So we'd have tropical Antarctica, but frozen Britain. How's that for a plot twist? At the same time, with all that ice gone, Earth would absorb way more sunlight because ice reflects heat, while water absorbs it. That means temperatures could spike by 5-10 degrees Celsius, 9-18 degrees Fahrenheit. Long story short, some places freeze, others fry, and humanity is caught in the middle of this global weather tantrum. Wildlife in crisis. Antarctica's unique and weirdly adorable creatures, penguins, seals, whales would be in big trouble. They rely on the ice for survival, and with their home gone, many would face extinction. Emperor penguins, for instance, need stable sea ice to breed and raise their chicks. Without it, their population could plummet, making them one of the first casualties of this icepocalypse. Seals, especially Weddell and Ross seals, would struggle too, as they depend on ice floes to rest and give birth. Whales, which thrive in Antarctica's nutrient-rich waters, would also be impacted as food chains collapse due to shifting ocean currents. Even the tiny creatures living beneath the ice would be affected. Scientists recently discovered anemones clinging to the underside of the ice sheet. Unlike their tropical relatives, these little guys wiggle around like creepy, ice-crawling jelly beans. What happens to them? No one knows, but their food supply, ancient organic matter, would vanish. And let's not forget the mysterious Lake Vostok, a 15-million-year-old hidden subglacial lake. This place hasn't seen the surface world in millennia, meaning the organisms inside could be completely unlike anything we've ever encountered. Some scientists speculate that bacteria and microbes trapped in its dark, oxygen-starved waters might hold clues to life on other planets. But if these ancient microbes suddenly enter modern ecosystems, would they peacefully integrate or wreak microbial havoc? And then there's the krill, tiny shrimp-like creatures that form the foundation of the Antarctic food web. With melting ice disrupting their habitat, krill populations could crash, triggering a domino effect that could starve whales, seals, and seabirds. As the Antarctic ecosystem collapses, the ripple effects would extend across the entire planet, further straining an already fragile biosphere. A new world order, with 3 billion people displaced, freshwater sources contaminated, and food supplies in crisis. Surviving nations would scramble for resources. Cities further inland, like Denver or Minneapolis, would become the new global hubs, while former coastal megacities become diving sites. You might even see Paris and New York turned into underwater ruins, with remnants of once thriving civilizations buried beneath the waves our own modern-day Atlantis. The northernmost and southernmost regions, Canada, Alaska, and newly thawed Antarctica might actually become prime real estate. Who would have thought that one day people would be flocking to Siberia for its mild climate? With temperatures rising, Antarctica might resemble New Zealand, covered in lush green forests and teeming with life. Imagine palm trees swaying on Antarctic beaches and new cities popping up where ice once reigned. The once barren landscape could become the breadbasket of the future, with fertile soil emerging from the ice, potentially supporting agriculture and human civilization. But before you start packing your bags for tropical Antarctica, remember, the planet wouldn't just stop warming. With the permafrost thawing, enormous amounts of methane and carbon dioxide would be released, further accelerating climate change. This could set off an unstoppable feedback loop, where more warming leads to more permafrost melt, releasing even more greenhouse gases. The result, a planet hotter than we ever imagined. Not to mention, nations would be fighting over newly available resources, Antarctica's untapped minerals, oil, and freshwater reserves. Who gets to claim them? Would we see a new era of colonization, complete with geopolitical battles over Antarctic land? Wars over water and fertile land might replace traditional conflicts over oil and territory, as governments struggle to sustain their populations. And in this chaotic world, survival wouldn't just be about who has the most money, but who has access to the last habitable land. The lucky ones who secured high-altitude properties in advance might end up ruling the new world order. Meanwhile, the rest of humanity would be left fighting for scraps, seeking shelter in refugee megacamps, or desperately trying to adapt to an Earth that no longer resembles the planet we once called home. And there you have it. Smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing videos. Got a wild theory or a survival plan? Drop it in the comments. We might just feature it next. And remember, stay dry while you still can.